Welcome back, everybody, to Real Talk
From the kitchen table.
with Jon and Lindsey Burt. So we finally made it back to our own kitchen table
Thank goodness. We
after
literally just
weeks
got
and
back
weeks
here.
and weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But the kicker is we're only here for how long?
Till tomorrow.
Till tomorrow. And we just literally just got home from North Carolina, so we're turning back around tomorrow to go to Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, just hitting the whole
So forgive
southeast
us for
again.
our travel looks
Yes.
today.
Yes, it's been it really wasn't a bad ride today though. It was
No, it
pretty
wasn't bad. It
pretty
was
easy.
quick.
Always going through Charlotte's a little aggravating because
Right. Traffic.
anybody that drives I-85, you understand that it's never done. It's always like one big construction project.
True
So
story. In other news, I got a sassy new haircut,
that's big time stuff.
and John's not loving it.
Now time out. I have
You didn't let
said.
me finish my sentence.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
John's not loving it because I'm a little extra sassy with the new hairstyle, but
Yes, it's been a lot to take in as far as that
makes me
portion
feel
of it
sassy.
goes.
I don't know why, but here we are.
So y'all pray for me, guys that are listening. Y'all know exactly what I need. I got a great wife. I do really like your hair though.
Thanks.
You did it really pretty the other day when you parted it in the middle. I really
So,
like
ladies,
that.
what that means is it doesn't look
liked
like
it.
today. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I did rock the middle part, but yeah, today was travel day. All right, anyways, let's get started.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You ain't got the giggles today, do you?
No, I don't have the giggles today, just a little extra sass.
So you traded the giggles for sassiness.
Yeah, just one emotion for the other.
Okay.
Or trait.
Well, I feel like we always, before we need to start, we need to check which emotion you're really feeling. So we got that nailed down.
Yeah, we're good today.
But what we're going to talk about today is dealing with mental battles. And I feel like that's something that's not really addressed much. It's one of those underlying things. Everybody deals with it. And one of the things the devil will always tell you, the mental battle you have, somebody else isn't going through that. But in all actuality, they probably are. You know, the Bible says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but the principalities, darkness rulers of the air.
Right.
And that's something that it's a daily thing. I think a lot of times where I even mess up in my own life as I think, well, these mental battles, they'll go away one day. I'll get rid of them. Everything will be fine. And the actuality is, you know, it's a daily thing. It's a daily struggle. And we want to kind of have a talk about what they are and how to deal with them.
Right, and I think too, like you said, a lot of times other people are going through those things and dealing with mental battles, but they're not expressing that. And even if they aren't at the time, there's a time in all of our lives that we've all been through mental battles and dealt with those things. So maybe it's not something that they're going through with right then, but you and or someone else have experienced it before.
And the first one we want to deal with is just talking about self-confident issues. And I know we've addressed this in previous episodes, but I just really feel like there's people that really sell themselves short. God's put so many great things in you, and sometimes it takes us getting out of the way to discover what those things are. So everybody has talents. Everybody has a certain ability God has given you. It's having the confidence to use that.
Right. And I feel like it's one of those things we don't always appreciate ourselves, but you have to find that through other people, through their appreciation. And a lot of times that's hard when people aren't showing you their appreciation, or, you know, you aren't in a relationship or a friendship where someone's uplifting and things like that. So your worth is definitely devalued. And I think that can be definitely a stressor in a lot of people's lives when you don't feel like you're worth anything. But then I always think about like your worth and how, especially how the Bible talks about like you're more precious than rubies. And that just kind of is a comparison that we have to remind ourselves of on a daily basis, that even when we don't feel and understand and appreciate our own worth, we have to know that through Christ we are worthy. And I think that's something that we all fall short of. Women, men, I know especially for men, John can attest to this. For a man, it's a lot harder because a man's emotions and the way they deal with things, the way they handle things are going to be a lot different. I don't know if this is the right word, so please forgive me. I don't want this to be offensive, but maybe more prideful even as a man. And not in a bad way at all, but just, you know, the man the manliness, I guess, of that is kind of taken away if they share some of these things sometimes. So for you men, definitely dealing with self-confidence issues is a lot more covered, I feel like. But then with women, a lot of times I think women share it, but then when they share it, then they feel like they're more emotional about it, and that brings more issues. And so I think there's a lot of different battles that go forth with the self-confidence.
But the Lord has given you special things that you have and that you're going to be good at. You know, everybody can't be good at one certain thing. And I think that leads us into our next mental battle, is the problem of comparison. You know, I've dealt with this before. I felt like I had to do A, B, and C to be accepted because somebody else was like that. And you got to be you. And that's one thing I've learned is I like people for who they are. I don't like this person because they act like this person. I don't like that person because they can do what this person does. I like each individual person for themselves.
Right, and think about people that you're around, people that you're friends with, maybe someone you've dated or you're married. Think about that person, that maybe one person in particular, and the traits that you like about them. I don't think I've ever said, I'm glad you kind of brought that up, I don't think I've ever said, I like that person because they act like this person.
Yep.
I mean, that would kind of be weird. You like them because of their unique traits and things
for
about
who they
them.
are.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of times, we do focus on that comparison, and I know we talk about that, honestly, I feel like every week, but in every step of our life and every avenue, all the things we've talked about, comparison is still the thief of joy,
Yep.
and it wraps into all of these conversations because we are flesh and we compare ourselves to others. And I think, too, of course, women compare to women, men compare to men, but I've even seen it where, women compared to men and vice versa. So it's not only just gender comparison. I think there's a lot of things with traits and ways people accept you or don't accept you that can make you compare when you see other people interacting. I mean, there's just a lot of things that the problem of comparison brings about, and we don't realize that worth, and then we don't see our worth, so then we don't realize why God made us and created us for why we are what we are. And that's
Right.
really difficult because I don't think at that point, I'll tell you my true belief, when we're not seeing our worth, and, don't take this the wrong way either. I feel like all my stuff's kind of coming across harsh today, but when we don't see that worth and we don't see the reason why God made us, I feel like we're kind of belittling the word and the work of Christ.
Yes.
And we need to realize that he made us in his image, and he made all things beautiful and does all things well. And so when we compare and when we let that rule us, not saying that I haven't done this. John can probably attest to it.
I think
we
we've all
all
done
do this, and this is always an issue that we have to deal with. But, truly we are belittling the work of Christ. And to me, it's like when I realize that I'm doing this, I'm saying, like, Lord, you should have created me like this, or Lord, I wish you would have done this different or made me differently this way. But then I'm not seeing the bigger picture, seeing that the Lord did this for a reason, and I am who I am because he wanted me to be
Right.
Lindsey Burt, not someone else. And so really I want you to think about that and really finding your worth so that you can appreciate the work of the Lord. And I think that a lot of times we don't appreciate him, and we're not thankful to him, and we're not John has a sermon that he talks about taking, the vitamins of thankfulness and things like that. We're not doing that if we're not truly appreciating what the Lord's done for us in making us who we are.
And a lot of times I've seen this happen so much. People will try to be something or someone they're not.
Right.
And that's a goal that you're never going to achieve. It's never going to happen just because, like what you just said, Lindsay, God created you. God put special things inside of you. And in doing that, I mean, you're exactly right. That is saying, Lord, what you did for me isn't good enough because I'm trying to be something that I wasn't created to be. So there's no need to sit around and beat yourself up and to study other people and what they do, how they act, how they dress, how they get their hair done. Use what God's given you because it's for a purpose.
Right. And I think, too, the Lord just kind of put on my mind about those of you that are single or dating and looking to become married one day. You think about that person that the Lord has out there for you. And if you try and change who you are and you're not true to yourself and you don't claim that and become fully what the Lord wants you to be, not what you want to be because you need to be like, Jane or whatever, then you're not going to be the person.
I've never met Jane before.
But you're not going to be the person that the Lord wants you to be for your future mate. And so it's not just about being you for you, but who you need to be for other people, for your family, for your future roles, for future ministry, a future job, your family in the future. You know, you don't know why the Lord's making you into the person that you are, but there's a lot of reasons and a lot of things that build you into you to further your testimony in order for him to use you for his kingdom.
But there's nothing wrong with working on self-improvements.
Right.
There's a ton of things I can guarantee you, Lindsay and Mike can even agree, that I need to improve on. I could sit here and name them off. I'm not going to take time to do that. But it's okay to take self-inventory every once in a while. You know, where can I improve in trying to be more intentional? Where can I improve on trying to love more, trying to serve the Lord more? There's nothing wrong with that, but there is a problem in trying to say, okay, I need to self-improve in this area. Well, let me just do exactly what, you know, brother so-and-so, whoever is doing over here.
Well, and I know this is a weird word, but it just kind of came in my head again. There's a difference in cloning and like improvement, or like bettering yourself.
There is a difference in cloning and construction.
That's good. Right. Because there is a difference. Like, you're trying to be exactly like this person, and I'm not even saying making your whole life like this person, but little things like, oh, I want to dress like her, or, oh, I wish that I could sing like that person, or I wish that I, you know, could speak to somebody like that person did. I mean, like, there's things like that. You're trying to become just like that person is. However, you might just need to sit back and think, what is an area that I could become stronger in, or that the Lord could help me grow in, so that he can use me? You know,
you gotta do what works for you best.
Right.
You know, I mean, you gotta take whatever your thing is you want to improve on and build it around yourself. Don't try to build it around somebody else. Build it around what you know your strong points are and improve on that daily.
Right. But I think that also kind of leads into our next point of talking about things that are maybe not the strongest points, maybe our weaker points of who we are. And that's where the mental attacks come in with anxieties through daily life.
And that's just putting too much pressure on yourself.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you, I've done this, I've been there. You do not have to figure everything out.
Right.
We're not supposed to figure everything out. You know, there's an aspect of our life that I think we have lost, and that's living on faith. You know, putting in what we can't control in the hands of the Lord and letting him handle it.
Right. And sometimes you have to deal with that anxiety and walk through uncertain times with that. And that a lot of times is going to bring that mental attack, because anxieties can come from self-confidence issues.
Right.
Anxiety can come from comparison, but also anxieties can come from overwhelming instances in your life or circumstances that are going on. And so there's a lot of things that anxiety can come from, but it definitely can cause intense mental battles if you don't control it and deal with it. Because Jon actually said, preaching the other day, you know, you can go without dealing with things, but if you truly don't deal with it, it's gonna deal with you. It's gonna deal with you. And so that's what I do want to encourage you, that when dealing with these things and when thinking about mental attacks and how, you know, Satan comes after us and things like that just to mess with us, when you're dealing with those anxieties, please make sure you figure out a way to cope, a way to deal, a way to manage those anxieties, because we've all been there when we haven't. And, you know, for some people, anxiety may turn into depression. For some people, it may turn into emotions, or just maybe even an attitude or things like that.
Yep.
Like, anxiety can appear a lot of different ways, but whatever way it does appear for you, I want you to really be challenged and encouraged to deal with that and find a way to cope with those things, because Satan will use those anxieties to mentally break you down.
And he'll put so much pressure on you. Well, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Right.
If you want, I mean, we've been praying for a lot of friends trying to have a baby or trying to find a spouse. Well, you need to do this to find a husband or a wife. You need to do this to have, you're not doing right over here. And if we look and we're running 10 different ways trying to control everything, I mean, we're just going to wind up flat out tired. Right. That's just how it is. I've tried to do that, you know, and I'll just be real honest real talk from the kitchen table. I've tried to do that in my own life, in my own ministry, trying to make so much stuff happen. And Lindsay, how many times have I sat down on the couch in tears saying, I can't figure it out?
Right. And that brings back a lot of anxiety for him when he chooses to do that. And the funny thing is, when you really look in your life and you think about the things that have happened, so like especially with ministry, the things that have come about, when we step back, we realize that it was because of nothing that we've
done.
So had we not have just done any of that and just stayed in a very neutral zone, praying and believing that the Lord can do all things, and how he does do all things well, and much better than we ever could ask or think. And so that's truly where provision steps in.
Right, and you've got to turn it over to the Lord. Right. I know we've all heard that, most of our life. I'll just give it to God. But we've been doing that, I guess, really the past, year with situations in our life. And when you fully give that pressure, give that, confidence issues, give that comparison problem, when you really give it to the Lord, his shoulders are a whole lot bigger than what ours are. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The devil will come and make you think, well, the Lord isn't doing anything. God really must not be doing this for you. You got to understand, he doesn't work on our timetable.
Right.
He's going to work on his own timetable, and it's a beautiful thing to sit back and watch about how many times I could have messed things up in our life, but I've just watched the hand of God put the pieces in place. But he can never do it until we just let go of it.
Right. And I think he wants to see that too. And that kind of ties into what we were thinking about talking next, of truly putting too much pressure on yourself. Because in reality, we don't have control, and that is not our job. And the Lord wants the control. So when we put that pressure on ourselves, it's way too much for us to handle because we weren't made for that.
And the devil uses that against us. And I believe that's where self-confidence comes into problems, where comparison comes into problem, where self-worth comes into problem. Because he'll tell you, well, if you were good enough, this would happen.
Right.
If you were pretty enough, this will happen.
Yep.
If you spoke well enough to people, this would happen. And that's not always the case. Some things just have to be the hand of God to work out.
Right. And I think about the sermons that I've heard and the people that I've talked to about pottery, and how when that pressure is on that piece of pottery, if there's too much pressure and too much heat, then the pottery is going to crack and it's going to shatter and break. And it's the same thing with us, our lives. If we put too much pressure, if we, have too much heat on our lives, then we're going to crack. We're going to shatter, because that's flesh. And that's the only thing we know to do, because honestly, guys, we do not have that power, that ability to be able to control that and have that much pressure.
We were not made to carry burdens. We were made to cast burdens.
Right.
And every single one of these mental battles we're talking today, it's a burden. But you got to do two things, and I think this might be our challenge for the day.
Perfect.
Number one, you just need to tell Satan he's a liar.
Right.
Tell him he has no place. Tell him it's under the blood. Christ is my Redeemer. And secondly, you just need to cast all that pressure, all those anxieties, all the self-confidence issues, all the self-worth issues, comparison, the list can go on and on and on. Just give it to him,
right,
and let him work it out.
And I truly encourage you with these mental battles and these mental attacks and how Satan's working on you. If you're dealing with these things, or when you do deal with these things, because like we said, we all get here at some point, I really encourage you to find someone, your person, find someone at the church that you go to, find a pastor, his wife, a Sunday school teacher, a deacon, a mentor, however you want to deal with that. But I truly encourage you not to go through this alone, because Satan will make you feel like it is only you. You're the only person that's ever gone through that.
Don't hold it in.
And do not hold it in, because that just makes it so much worse and makes that pressure just intensify. And so we just really plead with you today that if you're dealing with these things, and when you do, to not do it alone. I know, especially for those of you that are married, it's a lot easier, I feel like, sometimes when we have each other, because we can talk to. But I'll tell you, there's also been times where I'm sure both of us have not wanted to admit things to each other. And so that almost can be another level of a battle. So either you don't have someone...
Puts a strain on your marriage.
Right. So you may be single and you don't have someone to go to, or you're married and you don't want to admit these things, or you're embarrassed, or Satan is just really attacking you by it, so you need someone else. So whatever area of life you're in, sometimes you just might need another person or an avenue. And I just really encourage you to find that. There's nothing wrong with talking these things out. There's nothing wrong with trying to get help and figure out how to better yourself. And we really encourage you to do that. If there's any way that Jon or I can help you together separately, we would love to do that. This is a real thing, especially in today's world. I feel like it's more real than ever
It's
before.
not something that's really touched on, because if you say any of this, you show a sign of weakness.
Right.
But the only one that's strong is the Lord.
Right.
We're made out of simple dirt. All we're doing is trying to serve Him and to live for Him. And I always say when I'm preaching at the end, when I'm giving the invitations, if don't feel embarrassed to come to the altar because you have a problem, because the thing is, we all have problems. We all have our own issues and our own mental battles we deal with.
Right. And a lot of people do well with this. A lot of times it's really hard to talk about these things, especially in like a church setting or a youth group setting. But a lot of times they do kind of go unspoken, and they do go untalked about. And the reality is when we're not talking about it, people are dealing with it, and it's a real thing. So again, if there's anything we can do, if we can connect you to anyone, we would love to help. We just encourage you not to do this alone. Mental battles are real. Satan's attacks are
very real,
more real than a lot of other things, and we just want to be a help to you guys. So
we love y'all. We're praying for you. This has been Real Talk
from the kitchen table. We love you guys.
Love you.